Welcome to round one of the first Legacy of the North Invitational tournament. Here we're going to have player one is Will, and player two is going to be Andrew. Will is going to be playing, I think it's the green-white version of Lands, and his opponent, Andrew, is going to be playing a very different version of Cloudpost. So hopefully you guys like this kind of editing. I lost a lot of our footage for hand cams for the first few rounds, so hopefully this will be good enough for you guys for these first, I think 3 videos. Actually, I think the next round doesn't have them either because I was having a lot of technical problems with the earlier rounds. So they are a little bit lower quality because I had to drop a bit of the quality to get everything running smoothly in the editing software. So hopefully that's not an issue. We see that Will is keeping a hand of Rishadon Port, Wasteland, Life from the Loam, Crop Rotation, Thespian Stage, Forest, and Shadow Spear. Now Andrew is on a second mulligan, going down to 5 cards. If you guys are listening to this, sorry I didn't read out the hands that he mulliganed away, but take a look at the video and you'll see the cards he was considering for his opening hands. So we'll see if it's very hard. Like, it's very debatable. I don't think you would ever want to go to 4 cards. I think any 5 is perfectly fine. So out of the 7 cards are Ancient Stirrings, Verdant Catacombs, Forest, Caracas, the One Ring, Pithing Needle, Crop Rotation. So he ditches Caracas and the One Ring. So he's keeping Ancient Stirrings, Verdant Catacombs, Forest, Pithing Needle, Crop Rotation. Will is going to begin by playing a Forest into a Shadow Spear, passing the turn. Andrew draws Once Upon a Time, which he fires off immediately. Great timing. You don't really want to be drawing them later. Picks up an Elvish Reclaimer. Looks like he's going to play it with the Forest. He could craft the Verdant Catacombs. I don't think there's a difference between the two. I'm not sure what other forests he could be fetching for if he does use the Verdant Catacombs. I don't think there's another land that he can fetch with the Verdant. So we'll pass back to Will. Will draws an Ancient Tomb for turn. So taking his time here, I think you can take the slow route and play the Rishadon Port and just start kind of delaying Andrew's resources here with the Forest. He's on a Molotov 5, so it's a nice opportunity to kind of take this slow play. Other than that, he doesn't have much going on. Like, he can't use the Wasteland. The Ancient Tomb isn't really useful for anything. There's nothing in his hand that requires the mana. He could go for a Thespian Stage and Crop Rotation, go really quickly, but he's facing down an Elvish Reclaimer that he can't deal with. And Elvish Reclaimer can very easily just get Caracas and interrupt the Thespian Stage Dark Depths combo quite nicely. So Andrew's going to top deck a Crop Rotation here. So he used his previous Crop Rotation, sacking his Forest, turning it into a Cloudpost. Now Will's Wasteland is pretty good. Andrew top decks a second Crop Rotation. So this can help him respond against the Wasteland. He can just probably play Forest and pass the turn. And kind of just start chipping in with this Elvish Reclaimer. Only 1 land in the grave, or 2 lands in the graveyard. So Once Upon a Time, Verdant Catacombs, Forest, Crop Rotation in the graveyard for now. So he's going to play Pithing Needle. So it's very odd for a lot of decks to see Pithing Needle in the main board. Cloudpost is one of the decks that does play Pithing Needle in the main, and that normally and typically names Wasteland. But here we are seeing that it names Rishadon Port. There's the Wasteland coming down from Will's side after drawing a Caracas for the turn. Wasteland takes out the Cloudpost, and then he casts Life from the Loam, returning the Wasteland back to his hand. Andrew top decks an unfortunate Emrakul. Casts Ancient Stirrings, going to try to find some other lands to start making some actions here. Start progressing his board. So he adds Glimmerpost to his hand from the Ancient Stirrings. plays the Glimmer Post, draws one card because it's the only one locus. There's a token in the deck. So Life from the Loam is dredging. So he dredges 2 Life from the Loams and an Elvish Reclaimer. So this is also a very different version of lands from what we typically see from like my style and other styles. Lands usually does not run the Elvish Reclaimer package, but I saw a couple people playing the lands version with it, and it seems to do pretty well. So Will is debating on playing this Wasteland that he returned from the Life from the Loam. He is going to play the Wasteland to destroy the Glimmer Post and just keep Andrew restricted on mana. Very good strategy against a deck that's known to be the legacy version of Tron. So keeping him on a basic forest is a good strategy. Although having the Life from the Loam is nice. It keeps his lands versatile, but he's not really going up on lands. He really needs to find either like an exploration or some way to deal with this Elvish Reclaimer. So he could keep dredging and try to find a Maze of Ith. I don't know if this version runs Maze of Ith. Andrew top decks another Ancient Stirrings and plays it, getting a Thespian Stage from the Ancient Stirrings. Passes back to Will. Will most likely going to dredge. Dredges Sphere of Resistance, Exploration, and Caracas. It looks like he's considering playing the Ancient Tomb. I'm curious as to why he needs the mana. He does play the Ancient Tomb for turn. I guess it is a nice target to sacrifice to crop rotation. There's a Life from the Loam, targeting Caracas. Adds the Caracas back to hand. So now 2 Caracases, Wasteland, Thespian Stage, and crop rotation in hand for Will. And you're going to top deck yet another Once Upon a Time. Probably going to cast it, try to find a land or another creature. So this Elvish Reclaimer is a 3/4. Now he's hitting in for big damages. Dredging 3, putting Thespian Stage, Crucible of Worlds, and Maze of Ith into the graveyard. Now that the Maze of Ith is in the graveyard, he has a way of stalling out this Elvish Reclaimer, which is a pretty decent. Is he considering playing... There's a Thespian Stage. Is he trying to go for the crop rotation play? This is an awkward time to do so. Okay, so he's played the Thespian Stage and passed a turn. Andrew looks like he's going to fire off the Once Upon a Time at the end of Will's turn. What are we going to see Andrew grab? Looking at a bunch of lands here. So he finds the Dark Depths. So now Andrew has the ability of doing the Thespian Stage Dark Depths combo. He's going to draw for his turn, finds a Cloudpost, plays Dark Depths for the turn. Is he going to chip in? He is going to chip in. So in response to the attack, Will tapping 2 mana, going to crop rotation. So he's floating 1 colorless mana. So I think he's finding Dark Depths. I think this is an okay line to try to take. I don't know if you want to be fighting over this Elvish Reclaimer. Okay, so Andrew sacks his Dark Depths to the crop rotation, firing off... probably going to get a Caracas here. Yep, bouncing the Merit Lodge, and then this is all before blockers, so Elvish Reclaimer is still attacking for 3. Brings Will down to 5. I'm not a huge fan of Will's play. Instead of playing the Thespian Stage, like, if he wanted to do the Thespian Stage, he had the crop rotation from the beginning, and he should have tried to jam it as soon as possible. But then the moment... it's a tough decision, because the Elvish Reclaimer is going to stop him no matter what. If it wasn't Andrew's crop rotation, it would have been Elvish Reclaimer to find the Caracas. But I probably would have preferred to try to do... Instead of playing the Thespian Stage on Will's turn, I probably would have tried to like dredge back the Maze of Ith and then play the Maze of Ith. The downside of this version is there's no punishing fires, and you couldn't have dealt with the Elvish Reclaimer before Group Big. And I don't believe it runs main board removal either. So the only way would have probably been like a Tabernacle in combination with the Wastelands, and hopefully there's a Ghost Quarter. But Cloudpost is a mono green deck that plays plenty of forests. So there's a Life from the Loam coming from Will, returning Thespian Stage, Dark Depths, and Maze of Ith. You're gonna play the Maze of Ith. And you're gonna untap. Finds a Pithing Needle off the top. Wow. Pithing Needle probably naming the Maze of Ith to stop him from activating it. And that should be the game. Yep, so confirmed on the screen. Name's Maze of Ith. And that will be Andrew's game. All right, here we are at the beginning of game 2. Both players are keeping their opening hands. Andrew starts with pre-game effects, Leyline of the Void. If you guys watched my deck discussion on lands, you know how much I hate this card. So will begin the game with a Wooded Foothills. Probably gonna crack play. Oh no, he could go Mox Diamond, discard Dark Depths, and then Exploration. This is a really awkward hand because even though it has Exploration, so again in the deck discussion we discussed cards that you want to see in the opener. Exploration is definitely one of them, but it's definitely weaker than having Life from the Loam. However, in the face of this Leyline of the Void, Exploration might do a little better. However, this is going to be extremely difficult to navigate through. So Andrew going to play Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth on his turn into a Pithing Needle. In response to the Pithing Needle, Will cracks his Wooded Foothills. He's going to draw for turn. It is a Sphere of Resistance. So Pithing Needle, after it's resolved, he named Wasteland. This is an awkward position. I don't know if Sphere is where you really want to be because you don't have the mana to continue casting your spells. Like if you needed to Surgical Extraction this turn, there's no way that you could like pay for it. Angie pays 2 mana for his Ancient Stirrings. So Andrew looking at the One Ring, Karn the Great Creator, Ancient Stirrings, and Glacial Chasm in hand. So Glacial Chasm, very good with Yavimaya. Finds a Vesuva off of the Ancient Stirrings. So a very interesting choice is Andrew's playing Karn the Great Creators in his post deck here. So we'll see if that has an effect on the game. Not a typical threat that you usually see. Will draws Life from the Loam for turn, so he's drawing pretty much everything he doesn't want against this Leyline. He will just pass the turn back. Short on mana, doesn't have a way to deal with this Leyline. Andrew top decks Forests off his deck. Finds Cloudpost. Plays the Cloudpost. Passes a turn, and will top decks Windswept Heath, so he can get some mana. Not terrible. Life from the Loam does nothing. Crucible does nothing. Exploration don't really have extra lands to be playing, and really is only good with Life from the Loam, like when its engine is going, but can't get the engine started. The Lands car is dead in the water. Andrew untaps, draws return. It is a third Ancient Stirrings. Wow, he is digging 15 card deep is pretty good. Looks to add a second Karn to his hand. So he can get up to 5 mana with the Vesuva and Forest, even the Glacial Chasm, but that sets him back 1 land. So it looks like the Vesuva comes in as a copy of the Cloudpost. No reason to copy the Forest or the Yavimaya, and don't really want to copy your opponent's Savannah. So Will draws Urza Saga for turn. That's pretty good because now he has a threat going on. Or he can generate a threat at a later turn. However, he is facing down quite a bit of mana. So the main problematic thing here is the Leyline of the Void. If the Leyline of the Void wasn't there, then Will can just be casting the Life from the Loam, targeting nothing to just get an engine started. No reason to play the Exploration because there's no additional lands in play either. And you top decks Pithing Needle, so he can name Urza Saga, but he chooses to play Forest instead. Gonna slam down Karn. So Vesuva is a Cloudpost, so both of them tapping is for 4, and then the Forest taps for 1 because of the Sphere of Resistance. So Karn is gonna down tick, so we are gonna see him have an impact in this game. So next turn he'll have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. There's a Mycosynth. So can be cast. And that should pretty much settle the game. Will really need to find something. Here's a Pithing Needle with the last 2 remaining mana. Gonna crack the Windswept Heath in response to the Pithing Needle. Most likely just gonna name Urza Saga here. Wasteland's already named, and there's not really any other threatening land that Andrew really needs to worry about in terms of activated abilities. Yep, so he's gonna write down Urza Saga here. Thank you very much, sir. He's gonna neglect to cut the deck because he pretty much knows that he has it. There's a crop rotation, but it's too late. Again, I don't know the composition of Will's deck. I don't know if he ever had the option of going for an expedition map to find a Beseiju to blow up the ley line. I'm actually not very sure. I'm not sure how he would actually deal with the Leyline of the Void here. I don't think he was even expecting it, to be honest. This was a very good sideboard card by Andrew. I'm curious to know why Will has the surgicals. I guess he could Wasteland Cloudpost and then surgical them away. But any kinds of like those strategies they're not like the best. You want to be a little bit more proactive than reactive. But sometimes you just can't help it. So Will tapping 2 mana here for crop rotation. Gonna sacrifice the Urza Saga. So he was considering Tabernacle. I don't think he was considering Yavimaya just because there's a Yavimaya on the board already. But Tabernacle is very bad in this instance. Andrew has just so much mana. So Will does play the Ghost Quarter. Yeah, I think he's looking for a way to deal with like what's about to happen, and I don't think there is. Looks like he bordered in the Swords to Plowshares. There is the Beseiju in the deck. But I didn't see an Expedition map. Yep, and there's the concession. So Andrew takes it over Will in 2. Hopefully you guys enjoy the next round. We'll see you then.